So today, lads, we're going to be reacting to this video, and it is what would a lockout mean for the WNBA. So this is a article by Kelly Cohen from Fansided. I got sent it by the GOAT Christian S1048. And shout out to him, and shout out to anyone who's sending me articles for stuff to react to on videos, because as much as I try to keep up with everything, I'm only human. And I am, as much as I'm trying, there's no guarantee I can see everything. But let's take a listen. The WNBA is young despite feeling drama-filled. The league has not yet had a lockout. The NBA has had 4 lockouts. It says, but given what's happening in the WNBA right now, a lockout does seem quite possible. And if a lockout does transpire, it could have a devastating impact on WNBA's growth, which has skyrocketed for years. Alternatively, the threat of one could push WNBA and the players' union to reach an agreement that transforms the league for the better and change the trajectory in unfathomable ways. I think that is much more likely to happen. I think that is much more likely to happen. And I think with Adam Silver getting himself involved, like, I think if you guys don't know, all of the players have spoken that a lot of players have good relationships with Adam Silver. A lot of WNBA players most of them have better relationships with Adam Silver than they do with Kathy Engelbert, which is mad. Which is kind of mad, but as far as I'm aware, like, a lot of them do, and a lot of them have absolutely have spoke to Adam Silver, or at least someone on Adam Silver's team constantly is reaching out. But it says here, where do things stand? The current CBA expires the end of this month, and Nafis Collier, it says here, WNBA President Eka said, hopefully the agreement gets done in time that makes sense. I don't think anyone wants to see a lockout. Well, Fee probably does. Fee probably does, let's be real. Sorry. I think Fee doesn't want a lockout, but if you ask Nafis Collier, if she could only play in one league, what would it be? She would probably answer Unrivaled. Like, if it was a choice of lockout and keep Unrivaled, or no lockout and lose Unrivaled, I assume that she would keep Unrivaled. But yeah. It says here, just got to the point where I was fed up. Collier said, no matter what the consequences, I felt like something needed to be done. I actually do agree. I actually do agree with that. I don't hate Fee for speaking up at all. Like, at the end of the day, do what you do to try get money. Like, I think there's a lot of people that have done and said worse stuff than that to try get money, to be honest. Or to try in, like, maybe not specifically CBA negotiations, but in negotiations in general. People have said a lot worse stuff than what Fee said. And she cancelled the meeting. Whilst the union wanted to handle things the players want, on top of the list, a better revenue sharing system so the leagues continue to grow the players' compensation. I think that's a really hard thing to ask for. I think that's the one thing they won't get. And I think if they do get the revenue sharing, because what happens with the revenue sharing is nearly impossible to do, because you basically then have to go to the NBA and say, we need to give, because the WNBA cannot. It's either you're going to have to tell the owners they're not allowed to make money. You're going to have to tell the NBA you need to give up some of your percentage back. You need to pay the players out of your percentage, or the random investors that came in who are in the league to make money, who invested in the league in 2020 to make 2022 to make money. It's like, well, now we have to give some more money some of your money to the players, even though it's not like, even though they already bailed them out, then they have to keep paying money, so they might make a loss. So I don't think that's going to happen. Revenue is projected to top $1 billion this year. That's a big one. It says here, basketball income as NBA players, top stars who make more than $3 million a year, and said they make 10% of that. I don't see a world where they don't get paid at least $1 million. I don't see a world where the top WNBA, where the top WNBA players, the max contract isn't over $1 million. I don't think we see it at $2 to $3 million. I think there's going to be a deal where she ends up they end up with $1.5 million, and maybe if we're Unrivaled, I think their contracts will get I think it's gonna be one of those things where their contracts get ripped up if they get hurt in an outside league. I think that's what the clause is going to be, because I don't think getting rid of banning them from playing is like that causes enough headaches. I think they're just going to say your WNBA contract gets ripped up for the remainder of the year. So if you sign like a 3-year deal and you get injured in the off season before that 3-year deal, your contract's ripped up. It's done. It's done. Or the team has the right to rip up your contract. But yeah, so it says here, lockout scenarios, they're good and bad scenarios. Obviously, the best case scenario is it agreed. It's not happening. WNBA free agency negotiations begin in mid-January. Player contracts becoming signable on February 1st. Training camps begin around April. It's important to note Unrivaled begins in January with 8 teams featuring 54 players. I don't know where they got 54 players from. It's 48 players. Or, oh, sorry, they must have like 6 reserves. It's 48. They've still announced 2, but they must have a bunch of reserves then. A good and bad case scenario is that negotiations drag out and both sides agree to extend the current CBA to avoid immediate lockout, but players still playing under old terms 2026 season while bargaining continues. Things get very tense ahead of a new permanent deal. Yeah, that's not going to change anything. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. I think if the players are going to, there's a chance the players sign a 1-year deal. They sign a 1-year deal and they're like double the salary for 1 year, and then we're renegotiating after that. I don't see the season being delayed. I think the season's not going to happen at all. What happens in lockout? Immediately players use access to facilities, think gyms, rehab, training rooms, as well as medical and training staff. There are no team practices, as well as no league workouts or events. All league operations freeze, no trading, signs of free agency, no rookie contracts or extensions can be finalized. Further, pay will stop because the CBA governs player pay. Without one, there are no salaries or bonuses. That's why people are like, one of the things with Caitlin is that like, she can't use Pace facilities. She can't go and use Pace facilities. She can't go to New York and use as far as I'm aware, she can't use the NBPA facilities in New York. So that could be one of those things where it's like, I'm surprised we're not seeing much of Caitlin Clark, but to be fair, Caitlin can buy a gym. Caitlin has enough money she can just go to Iowa and just get a barn. Like I've seen, there's a really good arena in Ireland. I think it's only up like for 2/3 of the year, but it's really cool. It's really, really cool. As far as I'm aware, it's just a barn built on someone's field who owns the land, and like for a few months of the year, you know, it's just gone. I think they take it down, they put it back up. I don't know how true that is, but like I know this is just pretty easily built. This was built but it didn't cost that much money. Caitlin could easily build herself something like this and a gym. She could find a field in Iowa or something and just go and build it there and stay there, or a field somewhere. But yeah, it is an overall interesting scenario what happens with the CBA. And I do think that the likelihood is that the CBA the season starts, but I would say the players are going to get paid more than $1 million a year. The top players. That would be my assumption. And I think they're not going to ban players from playing overseas and Unrivaled, but there's going to be some sort of insurance or or if you play in another league and you get hurt in another league, your contract no longer becomes guaranteed. I think something like that is going to be in the new CBA. And that's something that I think players might have to give up on. If for nothing else, it means they might have to pay them more than Unrivaled for them to take that risk. But anyway, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.